Last night, it was announced a state of emergency has been declared in Los Angeles County because of immigration raids. Democrats are explicitly telling you when the federal government enforces the law, the people who duly elected Donald Trump, who has called on sworn law enforcement to enforce the law, when that happens, you're attacking them and they are in a state of emergency. I don't know how more plainly they can tell you that you are their enemy. Again, Los Angeles County has declared a state of emergency over standard law enforcement. That's how crazy things are getting. We'll talk about that. And, there's some arrests coming. John Bolton apparently is facing criminal charges. We'll talk about that. And then NBC has cut a bunch of its woke verticals and laid off a bunch of its staff. So I guess there's some positive news. Trump, of course, just railing on the press over the weaponization of the DOJ by the Democrats. And I got a lot on my chest. I don't know if you guys saw this other story that happened 10 days ago in Boston. A roving band of about 100 young people, mostly young black men, targeted police, blew up a police cruiser, and rampaged through various neighborhoods. And it's crazy that these stories just keep happening. And this roving band of lunatics, attacking cops, apparently was not even political. It was just one of these street takeovers taken to the next level. We're going to talk about that and so much more. Before we get started, my friends, we got a great sponsor. It is Beam Dream. Head over to shopbeam.com/TimPool. That is BEAM. And pick up your sleep powdered Beam Dream. It's a delicious cup of hot cocoa you drink before bed, and it helps you sleep. I stand by it. I've been drinking it every night before bed, and I've had some of the best sleep of my life. Not even exaggerating. It's got melatonin, magnesium, L-theanine. It is delicious. This is the cinnamon cocoa. I'm drinking the brownie batter one right now, but the cinnamon cocoa is my favorite. No joke. My sleep score has been averaging in the upper 90s. If you're not familiar with a sleep score, it's like when you sleep, there are these programs like this watch, and they'll track how well you're sleeping. Guys, if you want to get maximum testosterone and HGH, you need deep sleep and REM sleep. So you need to make sure that you're getting everything you need to sleep better. I'm a big fan of Beam Dream. Thanks for sponsoring the show. You can get big savings, my friends, if you use promo code TimPool. So definitely check it out. Shopbeam.com/TimPool. But we also have another amazing sponsor, and that is Crypto.com. And we got this little video to play. My friends, let's be clear. Cryptocurrency, it is not emerging any longer. It is here. And the latest move cements the reality in a big way. Trump Media just inked a massive $6.4 billion deal with Yorkville Acquisition Corp and Crypto.com, the crypto platform trusted by millions of users worldwide. They're teaming up to scoop up $6.4 billion in CRO, the powerhouse token that fuels fast, low-fee DeFi stake rewards and real-world perks like cash back on your spends to establish America's first CRO treasury, Trump Media Group CRO strategy. When it's done, this new company will be the biggest publicly traded CRO holder out there. If you want to learn more, head to Crypto.com today. And we're going to make crypto great again. That's what it says. I think crypto has been great the whole time, and it's just getting greater and greater. For more information on the proposed business combination, check out Yorkville Acquisition Corp's public filings. But wait, there's one more. Ladies and gentlemen, after an argument with Liquid Death, I am proud to announce CastBrew.com's very own artesian water brand, Pool Water. That's right. In just a matter of hours, we were able to source an artisanal well and produce this delicious bottle of pure artesian water. And we sell them for $20 for a 24-pack. That's right, less than $1 for a bottle. Now, it is not currently available, but I am announcing Pool Water available for purchase soon. Hopefully by tomorrow, pre-orders will be available. We then have to make the bottles and the labels and bottle the water, which can take upwards of about 3 weeks to create the stock. But the reason I did this is because Liquid Death is a garbage company. I absolutely despise Liquid Death. There's a lot we can talk about pertaining to why, but they decided to challenge me to a debate. I have agreed to the debate. I will be debating the CEO of Liquid Death on Friday because I think they intentionally mislead the public while claiming death to plastic on all their packaging. Meanwhile, all of their cans are lined with plastic, and most people do not know that aluminum cans are actually plastic bags. I am not exaggerating. So they decided to challenge me on social media, talking with my team, we were like, how hard is it to launch a bottled water company? And can we prove them wrong? And a ton of people said, Tim, you don't understand. Cans with plastic are better than plastic water bottles, and glass is too expensive. So we decided to prove them wrong by producing pool water, artesian water, and we sell it at around 7 cents per ounce, where Liquid Death sells at around 8 cents per ounce. And our bottles are glass. And there's going to be some plastic. And I think the cap is going to have some plastic, a metal cap, but it's got a plastic liner or something like this. You can't get away from all of it. The point is, you can do this. We are waiting for production confirmation from the distribution company, and then pre-orders should be available tomorrow. And we are making almost no money on this because we don't have the volume of Liquid Death, but we're doing it to prove a point. I am sick and tired of these companies that do these marketing schemes where they trick people, they use deceptive language, and I think Liquid Death intentionally does this. I think they know full well the average person doesn't know there's plastic in all of their cans. And so when they say death to plastic, the presumption among the consumer is that they are drinking out of a metal can and avoiding phthalates and PCBs, etc. They're not. Even with these glass bottles, you can't get completely around it unless you do metal pop caps. But even some of those, most of them have plastic liners. So there are better ways to do it, but we'll talk about that a little bit more later. Joining us tonight to talk about this and so much more. Wait. Smash the like button, share the show. Joining us tonight to talk about this and so much more is Tom Renz.
Glad to be here, Tim. Thank you for having me.
You want to pull that mic up a little bit?
Yeah.
Yeah, who are you? What do you do?
I'm a nobody from Ohio. I'm actually an attorney. I'm known most for my fight against COVID. When they locked us down, I stood up, I fought, and I'm now fighting against corruption. I'm fighting for MAHA, fighting for all these sorts of things, and kind of doing it everywhere, doing like you, trying to promote truth.
Right on. Well, it should be fun. Thanks for hanging out. We got Brett Tasevich hanging out.
What's going on, guys? It's Brett. Normally, we are doing Pop Culture Crisis Monday through Friday at 3 p.m., but let's get into it today.
My name is Seamus Coughlin. I'm the creator of Freedom Tunes. Myself and my team have produced over 600 animated shorts because we believe you can't win the culture war if you're not making culture. We've amassed over 1 million subscribers, over 290 billion views, and that's all with $0 spent on marketing. We have a problem in this country. All of our media is produced by people who hate our country, who hate your family, who hate our values. That's why we're stepping into the ring and we're making longer form content. We've just launched our first series, which is full length. We have our pilot finished. It's 25 minutes long. If you guys want to help us make this a reality, if you guys want to help us compete with Hollywood with good long form content that has good values in it, that are communicated through story and jokes rather than ham-fisted monologues, go to twistedplots.com. Donate, help us make this show. You'll get access to the pilot. You'll be helping us build the future of entertainment. I've got the values, I've got the team, I've got the experience, and if you give me your support, I will be unstoppable.
That was a definite improvement from yesterday. Wow, Seamus.
He didn't want to.
I'm moved.
He didn't want to catch any flame from Tim.
That was the opposite of a ham-fisted monologue.
Tim gave him endless amounts of crap last night. If you missed it,
I still think you need to add the "if you see as I see and you would seek as I seek."
Listen, I'm just being sincere. I think we need to build this. I think we need to compete with Hollywood.
Also, I want to stress YouTube is completely down now. I can't even load the background studio anymore. It's just gone. Phil's hanging out.
Hello, everybody. My name is Phil Labonte. I'm the lead singer of the heavy metal band All That Remains. I'm an anti-communist and a counter-revolutionary. Let's get into it.
Here's the news from ABC. L.A. County declares state of emergency over immigration raids. They say L.A. County officials voted on Tuesday to declare a state of emergency over ongoing federal immigration raids. The proclamation gives the county the power to assist residents they say have been impacted financially by immigration and customs enforcement action. The declaration was introduced by county supervisors Lindsay P. Horvath and Janice Hahn and passed by a 4-1 vote. Now, what does this mean? It means they're going to take your money and they're going to give it to illegal immigrants. Quote, I'm not kidding. What's happening in our communities is an emergency. And LA County is treating it like one. Declaring a local emergency ensures the full weight of county government is aligned to support our immigrant communities who are being targeted by federal actions. I would just like to stress to all of you, please understand in great detail what this means. The government of Los Angeles County, okay, when people refer to LA as a city, they got to understand, LA is a city, really small. The whole urban area is referred to as LA County. Their government has just publicly declared you are an enemy. And when your law enforcement goes in to enforce the law enacted by Congress, It is an emergency because it is attacking their people, their community. They are telling you outright, the people you seek to enforce your laws against, they are siding with them. So these liberals, they come out and they say, these are our neighbors, they should be allowed to stay, blah, blah, blah. Let's just step back and approach this mathematically and logically. We decide as a people in the United States, certain act is crime. If you commit crime, we will arrest you. LA County has publicly declared at the government level, they feel those who have committed the crime are deserving of money and protection, and the fact that you would try to enforce your laws is an attack on them. They are telling you they are the criminals. I don't know where y'all think this goes, but I think you know where I think it goes.
Yeah, I mean, look, the fact that LA County is trying to essentially usurp powers that the federal government has, it can only lead to more conflict and more, raising tensions. People talk about they want to see the tensions brought down in this country, but every step that the state takes to interpose itself between the federal government in favor of illegal immigrants only raises the temperature. That's all it can do.
Yeah.
I mean,
oh, sorry, go ahead.
no, listen, here's the deal. Federal law is in charge, right? It controls. This is literally a county government aiding and abetting in a crime. This is like a RICO. They're literally making themselves an illegitimate government. This is 100% illegal. What I hope to see from this is I want to see Pam Bondi come in and charge these guys immediately for aiding and abetting, conspiracy. There's a bunch of crimes here. Put them in jail. Put them in jail from top down. And anyone in this county that supports this, throw them in jail too.
I completely agree with you. I think that has to happen, especially if we want this country to have a future. Otherwise, we're setting the precedent that they're allowed to do this. I mentioned this on the show the other day. One thing people will tell you about parenting, for example, is either you're shaping your child or your child is shaping you. Anytime you're in a position of authority over anyone and you allow them to usurp your authority and disobey you, what you're telling them is you're actually in charge. And that's not what any of us agreed to with respect to the social contract that we're a part of in the United States of America. So they're subverting all of our will. They're subverting the democratic process, which put this administration in place because the American people wanted mass deportations. And you're absolutely right. They need to be put in jail. My question for you is, what do you think the likelihood is that Bondi actually does something about this? Because I'm a little bit jaded about certain members of this administration and their ability to pull through for us.
Man, I'm with you. I'm with you, brother. I mean, I've been very outspoken and very frustrated about this. We're 10 months in and we've seen really almost nothing. We see a Comey indictment, which unless they do something superseding in this is really a disaster. There was no sedition charge. There's so many charges that could have been brought that they kind of ignored on this. To me, I haven't seen anything but impotence out of the Justice Department. I'm sorry, I like Kash Patel. Bondi, to me, she's the bench. We wanted Matt Gaetz, tried to get Matt Gaetz. Congress wouldn't let us get Matt Gaetz, so we get Bondi on there, and she's just not getting it done. I'm frustrated with it, so I'm not real hopeful, but these are lower level.
I would say I largely agree with you. We talked about it a bit last night in the uncensored portion of the show. Make sure you guys check that out at Rumble Premium, by the way, and join our Discord server. But the point was that there are some things happening, like, Letitia James is getting indicted and Comey, and now they're talking about John Bolton. But what's frustrating me is that we continually have these federal judges exceeding their authority, and Trump goes, okay. And the response we got from Peter Navarro was Trump's trying to play to public opinion. I'm like, if that's the case, we lost.
Yeah.
Because what's happened now is a federal judge said of Illinois, Trump can federalize the National Guard but can't deploy them. In what reality does it make sense that Trump can assume command of the National Guard but can't actually tell them to walk somewhere? And he's not telling the National Guard to go beat people.
Yeah.
So if Trump is going to say, here's a better example. A judge ruled the barriers have to be removed from outside the ICE facility. We just saw several terror attacks against ICE. They shot at them while hiding in the woods. ICE goes, okay.
Well, isn't saying Trump can assemble the National Guard, but he can't mobilize them the perfect epitome of what has been happening since 2016? There's just a refusal to transfer power. It's almost like when Trump is in office, the executive branch becomes like the monarchy is in England. It's totally ceremonial, and they do everything they can to block him from exercising any kind of power.
And he says, okay.
Yep.
And the argument I'm told is he has to play to public opinion, and I'm like, okay, we lost.
Then we lost.
We're doomed.
That's what Trump always does.
And I've
It's unfortunate.
made that point several times, is that I think a lot of people still want to live in that era where the Republicans try to play the bigger party and they want to look like they're being fair for the sake of being fair, when everybody understands. And look, I get the point of that argument, because the idea is like, well, when the Democrats come back in power, what we're going to see is them exert their authority over you. Like, they do that anyways.
And they're going to do that
And they're going to
anyway.
do that anyways. So it doesn't really matter. I get the point you're making, is that you feel that the decorum in this country is gone, but the decorum in this country, at least as far as politics, has been gone for a very, very long time. And it's now, if you're a conservative, if you're a Republican, it's in the interest of your family and your friends to exert the power while you have it, because there's nothing brave and there's nothing gracious about allowing yourself to be abused by someone for the sake of being the bigger person.
Republicans that are saying, "Oh, we have to bring back decorum," that's like being like, we have to make our appendix important again. Like, it is gone. It is gone.
They literally raided Melania's underwear drawer.
Yeah.
I mean, for God's sakes, you want decorum while their rating is. They talk about the weaponized DOJ. The weaponized DOJ occurred under Biden on levels I can't even tell you. Do you know? So I'll tell you guys, as an attorney, do you know that there are cases that I can't file because if I file them, they're going to disbar me or put me in jail? Look at the election attorneys that we had from the 2020 election. Whether you like that or not, look at what happened to them. Look at the guys who stood up on a number of these real controversial issues. Look at what happened to them. When you get to the point that you can't ask questions and you can't challenge things in the courtroom, when attorneys are censored from the cases they can bring, we're done. And we need Trump to lead on this instead of following public opinion. We need him to be the leader that we know he is. I mean, we put him there because he punches people, because he fights, because he's MAGA. Well, that's what we need.
That's exactly right. And this is something Augustine said. A man has as many masters as he does vices. And I don't think anyone could disagree that Trump's vice is pride. So even if he's not bought and paid for by these large lobbies, that vice controls him if he's too afraid to be on the other side of public opinion. We all have to pray that he abandons this need for human respect that he has, because if he doesn't, they're going to take over this country. He's not going to be able to stop them.
That's why he still gives all the interviews to the mainstream press when he knows that they hate him.
He's always wanted people to like him. That's his biggest Achilles heel. He's always been the guy that wants people to like him. Now, sometimes that's a good thing because it makes him capable of working with people that he's had significant beef with, significant issues with, and when it comes time to work together, he can actually leave those kind of personal things behind and then work on whatever problems at hand. So that can be a positive. But it also means that people are able to roll him at times. People are able to get around, get policy decisions or get him to do things that they want that are actually in conflict with things that not only he's promised, but things that he was elected for. Look, the immigration issue was, if it wasn't the top issue, it was one of the top issues.
Yep. Sending
illegal immigrants back. That was the first thing that he said in 2015 when he came down that golden escalator. It was like, we've got, they're sending terrible people, blah, blah, blah. And the left was up in arms about it. How dare you say these things? But that was what people really started to pay attention to him for. And he was 100% right. We have 20 million or so illegals that came in just during President Biden's administration. These people need to go home. So he needs to focus on the promises that he made and make sure that he's doing what is necessary to keep those promises.
I totally agree. And I think there's an argument to be made that even 20 million is a conservative number. I wish Trump would focus more on demanding the respect of these people rather than focusing on being liked by them.
Meaning the press or like the opposition?
The opposition.
Okay.
They have to know that there's a line that they can't cross.
I don't think that that's even possible. I think they're too.
Well, no. Well, but again, respect is not the same as liking. What respect is saying, like, even if I don't like this person, if I mess with them, it's not going to go well for me. And I think that's what he has to cultivate with these people.
But he's not.
Yeah.
I know.
Right.
I know he's not. And that's what's unfortunate. Trump, listen, you're a likable enough guy already. You don't have to focus on trying to get these people to like you. They're bad people.
And we keep hearing this argument, like even Elad made it the other day, like when Democrats come back in power, they'll do bad things to you for the things you did. And it's like, you don't understand. They had a fake criminal charge against Donald Trump. It doesn't get any worse. The next, Charlie Kirk is dead. The guy who killed him had the same ideology as AOC. She went on the House floor and she espoused the same ideology of the alleged assassin. Aaron Danielson, you had the shooting of Aaron Danielson in Portland. These people of this ideology have already murdered people, and they arrested Trump's lawyers. Yeah. What more do people expect is going to happen? Now they're declaring it an emergency. When we elect a government and say, go enforce the law, they go, it's an emergency now, and we're going to pull from the public coffers. If Zoran Mamdani wins, it is going to escalate. And one more point. Sorry, Phil. One more point. I made this mistake. Many made the mistake. Just let the socialists win. Then they'll learn. What happened? Yep. Conservative-minded individuals fled these jurisdictions, entrenching the psychotic behavior of these people to the point where LA has declared a state of emergency because we want the law enforced. Yep. And the only way I see to actually reconcile this at this point is Reconstruction-style politics. So going in and taking over.
Two things to your point. First of all, the United States is the last place to go. So to your point, like when conservatives fled areas, like they fled two places and said, well, we're going to leave New York. We're going to go, blah, blah, blah. There is no place outside of the United States.
What do you mean?
Right?
You're right. El Salvador.
I don't know about that. I don't know if there's
What do you mean?
I don't know that going to El Salvador is actually the proper solution. You're surrounded by commies down there, first of all. But second of all, to your point about like what happens after Donald Trump leaves office, there are already people talking about using the I forget what the policy is called, but the way that Donald Trump has paid the military, right? Because he recently passed some kind of some what's it called?
Yeah, he pulled funds from somewhere else to pay him or something.
That was
from tariffs, right?
Yeah, technically that's illegal because of appropriations. So there's a guy named Bobby Kogan who is he's the senior director for federal budget policy at American Progress. Okay. So he's already talking about how they can indict Donald Trump for this. Now, I don't think this is a good idea, obviously. I don't think the American people are going to like it either because they're literally, they would be indicting him on an appropriations violation. And they would be doing it because he paid the troops. So it's terrible optics. But the Democrats don't care. No. They just want to put him in jail. So they will actually use a law that was passed in 1808, and no one has ever gone to jail for this. No one has ever been prosecuted. No one has ever been arrested for this. But they would use this because it has a 5-year statute of limitation. So it's after he gets out of office. And they would try to put him in jail for this. They're already planning, how do we put Trump in jail? If you think that they're not going to do this stuff after Donald Trump is out of office, you think they're going to stop? Absolutely not. And they're going to come after all sorts of conservatives. They're going to go after Hegseth. They're going to go after all kinds of people in his cabinet and stuff.
Let's jump to the story from Zero Hedge. All hell broke out in Boston as police cruiser torched in premeditated attack on cops. The president of Boston's Patrolmen Association has responded to a violent mob of over 100 people as they unleashed chaos in Boston streets, torching a police cruiser and pelting officers with fireworks cones and poles in what witnesses called a riot-like assault on law enforcement. Take a look at this. This story is particularly crazy because this was not politically motivated violence. This was barbarism. Take a look at this video.
A Boston police cruiser repeatedly hit with fireworks and set on fire. Investigators say dozens of people were involved overnight in what they're calling a targeted attack. Good evening, everyone. I'm Ken McLeod. Tonight, 2 people are in custody. And as WBZ's Paul Burton shows us, this wasn't the only incident locally involving a large crowd attacking officers.
Mob of people here, like screaming, banging on the cop cars.
Gosh, she's laughing.
Chaos erupts and people scatter in the streets of Boston as a police cruiser was destroyed by fireworks in what police describe as a large-scale vehicle takeover early Sunday morning.
Definitely unsettling to wake up in the middle of the night and see a cop car on fire outside your window.
These BU students took this cell phone video. They live in the apartment above Mass Ave and Tremont Street.
I just saw the cop car on fire, and then stuff was blowing up while they were putting it out.
Police
say
they're
all smiling and laughing about it.
Responded to reports of people gathered in cars to take part in illegal street racing and tricks.
As officers approached the scene, they were
met there's a bit more, but I think there's a couple points to be made in this. The official reporting is that this roving band, this violent mob, moved around 4 different neighborhoods in what they called a coordinated, premeditated attack on police one vehicle was blown up. In the video, as we already pointed out, these women who are witnessing it they're laughing about it. They're smiling and like, wow, look at this. They really don't understand what this leads to and how bad it could get. People don't get it. So my point on this is, it is particularly unnerving for me. This story is actually from October 5th, but it's only gotten any national attention 10 days later or 9 days later. And what's worrying to me is over the past couple of weeks, I'm looking through the segments that I'm pulling up, and the escalation is getting terrifying. CBP rammed in DHS agents, I think it was CBP, rammed in Chicago. When they pursued the guy who attacked them, they jumped out to flee, and they got surrounded by a bunch of random people in the neighborhood who started throwing rocks at the cops. The view that these cities have, LA declaring a state of emergency, on law enforcement is that they may as well be clowns at this point. And now we're seeing roving bands. I can't even call this a riot. It's barbarism. These people aren't doing it for any real reason other than it's funny to them and they laugh about it. I am deeply concerned with the exponential growth curve over the past couple of weeks in this escalation. Listen, it has been just over a month since Charlie Kirk was assassinated, and think about all the degrees of violence that we've already seen. A terror attack on ICE, 3 instances where federal law enforcement were rammed in their vehicles in Chicago. Now we're seeing this. My fear is, as it was described by Eric Prince, gradually then suddenly. One day everything's normal, the next day you wake up and the internet don't work. The electricity is out. I'm concerned we may be getting to that point where the conversation is had about what kind of precautions you need to take and when you need to actually, I'll keep the language light here, enact any kind of plan. That is like securing your family, moving to a new location, things like that.
Yeah, you mentioned something here about the fact that this wasn't politically motivated as far as we know. And that appears to be the case. But one thing it's important to remember is that it's still directly tied to politics, because soft on crime policies, a failure to respect police from elected officials who go out and trash them when they're trying to maintain public order against rioters, that kind of rhetoric and this kind of weak law enforcement and a failure of our elected officials to support law enforcement is why this kind of thing is able to happen.
So, Tim, this goes right to what you were just talking about, right? This comes down to a lack of enforcement of the law. We're letting things go. Nobody's pushing the law, and it has to starting from the top down. The DOJ needs to go after people at the top. I just posted right before the show on my Twitter feed, I got this thing sent to me from MoveOn.org. MoveOn.org's out there promoting and asking for money for this No Kings protest coming up. I mean, I'm scared to death of this protest. Is this going to be another peaceful protest like we keep seeing? Now, MoveOn.org is organizing, raising money for this. Now, if I can, sitting here in your studio, get that, post it, put it up there, why can't the DOJ say, hey, maybe we need to investigate MoveOn.org for, are they funding this? Are they supporting this? Why can't they go online and find the 50 different groups that are supporting this? And why aren't the people who are doing it being investigated and put in jail?
We just we had a Culture War Live at the Comedy Loft in D.C. scheduled for this weekend. We've moved it 1 month up because of the No Kings protest. The security requirement for having this event in D.C. was exorbitant and impossible to permit. So let me put it this way. If we're going to get like me, Alex Stein, the liberals would be fine, but Emily Saves America, if we're going to be at this venue and it's publicly known and advertised, and you've got these Antifa terrorists from across the country descending on D.C., they are absolutely going to make a plan to attack and disrupt this venue. Mm-hmm. And so what would we have to do? We'd have to get permits to block off the street to be able to get us in and out during these. It's never going to happen. Yeah. So we were like, let's just move the event and we'll have it in November instead.
Which is literally what the terrorists want, by the way. Right? I mean, it's true. It's like that's why these kinds of attacks happen, is because they want to make it impossible for you and other people to do events like this.
And even if you're willing to do so, to make it so financially costly to be able to do it.
Yep.
There is a reality to how long we can do this show with the exponential increase in violence, lawlessness, death threats, etc. So I don't know where that threshold is. The death threats that we've received over the past month or so have resulted in probably the most extreme reaction we've ever had to have. I had to literally, I have been in contact with the FBI over the swattings. That was child's play compared to what's going on right now. As you saw, Benny Johnson was at a press conference with the DOJ over the threats to his family. Since the killing of Charlie Kirk, this has been a green light, and we have seen a dramatic escalation in threats. And our security team's assessments are that there is real movement happening among far left groups to exacerbate and escalate. And we're witnessing it. We're watching it on the ground in Chicago when they attack law enforcement, when the judges rule that federal law enforcement aren't allowed to protect themselves. It is coordinated, and it is getting crazier. In fact, we have another story we'll pull up in a little bit. A judge just extended the ruling. Trump cannot deploy National Guard. They are outright telling us those that do not align with us will be barred from protecting themselves.
Well, there's no question. Tim, going back to COVID, I was doing a lot of work on the COVID stuff, right? I had a guy follow me from my house to the gym, knock on the window of my car, hand me a packet, make some threats, and leave, right? Now, I mean, I'm
COVID?
a big guy, right? I'm not overly intimidated by people, but here's the deal.
Like 12 feet tall, yeah.
Yeah, I'm kind of an ogre, right? But a little bit of Shrek in me. But listen, here's the deal. They know where my family lives. They made that clear. They know where I work out. They made that clear. I mean, this is craziness. This isn't the kind of thing we should be having happening here. But we can't negotiate with these people. There are a lot of people in this country we need to do like Charlie Kirk did and talk to. But the problem is not the people that we can talk to. The problem is the people that want to kill us, that want to hurt us, that want to push violence, who are willing to do whatever is necessary. Those people you can't negotiate with, you have to defeat. And that's what we need from the president. We need to go after the people who are funding them. You remember Tesla? Remember when we're going after the guys that are keying the Tesla cars? I said back then, why the hell aren't we going after the guys who are paying for the guys to key the Tesla cars? We got to go after the heads of the snake.
Well,
I know who they are.
I think the people keying the Teslas were just random people doing it. I don't think anyone was paid to do it. But the issue is, does everybody remember that earlier in this year we had, I think, like 70 some odd terror attacks? A woman driving a Tesla had someone speed in front of her and slam his brakes on and get out of the car and start screaming at her in the Pacific Northwest.
Yeah.
That there were people who went to Tesla dealerships and unloaded rifles into the building and vehicles.
Yeah. Well, and that's what I'm saying. You're right. Let me rephrase.
This is outright bleeding Kansas.
These people weren't being paid to do it, but the people who were funding the messaging, the people who are manipulating these low-level thugs to do stupid things, those are the people that need to be charged. The RICO charges. RICO is one of the most powerful laws in history.
You're talking about war powers. You're talking about wartime actions, because in a contemporary, modern, liberal democracy that describes the United States, we have free speech. And so if someone were to say something like, I think Tesla is evil and should be destroyed, that's considered free speech. There's no imminent threat. What we know now is that this is what I call the Tweedledee Tweedledum death threat, where there's two people on a street corner and one guy screams, someone needs to murder fascists, which is a generic statement. Then the guy next to him points at Seamus and says, there's a fascist.
That's right. So
neither of them can be charged because what they said was individually free speech. But we know that in coordination, they are telling people to go murder. We're at the point now where if we don't recognize that, we lose. And I'll add on top of what you're saying, what scares me, this may be, I don't know if the Republicans, Trump and his admin, are taking action as it pertains to voting to ensure that there is a legitimate voting process, knocking out ballot harvesting and other illicit voting practices. But if the Republicans do not win, we are cooked. Yep. And based on right now, we are seeing prominent middle-of-the-road individuals who supported Trump now walking back their support and moving to the left out of fear because the left will murder you and the right will not. That degree of fear has strong men dropping to their knees. And if that happens, the left wins.
I think the scariest part about that, I was thinking of Theo Vaughn when you mentioned that, when he walked back the comments that were made when the DHS or whoever it was released the video about immigration and deportation. And he said, please don't leave me out of this. I don't want to be threatened. I don't want to die.
They might kill me.
They'll kill me. And the point is like the scariest part about all of that, it's kind of a weird thing to think existentially. Is like, not only will they kill you, but you're going to die and the media is going to frame you as evil. So you don't even get to die some sort of good death. You'll die in the face of the general public as some type of evil fascist, despite the fact that it doesn't describe you in any way, shape, or form. And I think that might be the scariest part for a lot of that, is if you were in a free press with journalists who are willing to openly look at both sides of the aisle and report honestly, you could take the idea to the public that this is what I mean, this is what I mean in my heart, and maybe the message gets out there that when something bad happens to you, you'll be framed in a way that is in line with reality. But you can't even bank on that anymore. So what person wants to go to war for something where they're just, they say the victor, whoever wins the war is the one who decides who's good and who was evil. So people don't even want to do it anymore because they don't feel like they're going to have any way of being seen as the decent person that they feel they are.
Exactly.
That's called demoralization.
Yeah.
That's right. That's absolutely right. And the good news is, you can actually cultivate a relationship where it becomes far more difficult to demoralize you. If your audience is God and you're trying to be in his good graces and friendship, it doesn't matter if people say bad things about you after you're dead. That can't hurt you. The reality is, these people are going to say that any conservative who was legitimately martyred for their cause was a Nazi, was a fascist. They'll say the same thing about the assassination attempt on Donald Trump, and they'll even say the same thing if there's, heaven forbid, a successful assassination attempt on him in the future. That's why it's so important for him to not care about what these people think. And I just want to mention, Trump has been making some noises recently along the lines of what I'm saying. He's been making statements like, I don't know if I'm going to get into heaven, and I'm trying to get into heaven, but I don't know. I mean, that's got to be, and I'm encouraged to hear that, because that's got to be his focus, is getting to heaven, and not whether these people like him.
I'd rather, he was on the plane on Air Force One, and he was asked by a reporter, and he said, I don't think there's anything I can do. I would have rather he just screamed Deus Vult and grabbed the camera and smashed it. I'd have been like, yeah! We're getting to a let me pull, I'm joking, by the way. Let's pull up this story from CNN. Federal judge extends temporary orders barring Trump administration from deploying National Guard to Portland. This story breaking from CNN. The ruling by the Trump-appointed judge blocks the federal troops from deploying to Portland for another 14 days. The orders were originally set to expire this weekend. By extending the temporary orders, Immergut allowed the court and appeals judges time to fully consider the case as the Trump admin remains blocked from deploying federalized troops. The case is expected to go to trial on October 29th. Now, I want to chill a little bit. I think there's a couple strategies here. Trump doesn't want to play the Insurrection Act card unless he absolutely has to. At the same time, riots disappear in winter. I think a lot of people were like, we were told to wait till summer, now wait till winter. That was one of the comments we got in the chat. I'm like, no, hold on. We are getting the arrests. We got Letitia James, we got Comey. They're saying that Bolton's going to get arrested next. So that movement is happening. Bannon predicted that. It has begun to happen. We're now moving into the fall. However, the mass deportations have been happening the whole time. Yeah. The issue, however, is national law enforcement, federal law enforcement, they'll go in and assist, is being blocked. When it starts getting cold, mid-November, these people will stop showing up because they are fair weather activists. Some may still. I believe that federal law enforcement are going to go out in their winter gear and they are going to keep enforcing the law. Now, in places like, maybe Arizona, Colorado, well, not so much Colorado because it's elevated, but Arizona and California, you may still see activists. I don't know about Miami. Miami's turned red. I think that Trump's strategy may be, let's wait to see what happens in the winter. If these people are all gone, we don't need to send in the troops. We will be able to handle these deportations, and we can reprioritize federal law enforcement towards mass deportation instead of protecting facilities. Mm-hmm. If that doesn't work, I think then he goes full Insurrection Act.
I hope we don't have to go full Insurrection Act. I really do, because we're talking about some serious challenges to our civil liberties. But I get it, we're there. But there's kind of two arguments here. And I'm just curious what everybody thinks on this, because on one side, I hear we got a plan. On the other side, I see very little movement, but I'm starting to see some movement, like you said, Tim. The movement we're seeing, though, the question I have, was it part of a plan, or is it because we're starting to speak out more? The mega base is really getting frustrated about the lack of movement. They're speaking out more. So are we the cause, or is it the cause or effect? What's going on here? At the end of the day, all I know is that we don't have much time, because if we lose the midterms, Trump's going to get impeached. We're going to be done. And we don't have until the 4 years are up. We have until midterms. If the Democrats control the House and the Senate, or the House or the Senate, nothing else is getting done. We're done at that point. So we don't have much time. And at this point, we've seen the Republicans aren't doing anything in Congress. The only room we've got, the only space that we have to really, really get a checkmate on this is the DOJ putting big shots in jail. And it's just so slow. And I'm telling you as an attorney, and you can say, okay, Renz, you're not as good of an attorney as Bonnie. Fine. Maybe I'm not. But you don't have to be that good of an attorney to be able to see, hey, 10 months with the resources of the DOJ, they can put how many J6ers in jail, but they can't do a real investigation into George Soros or Arabella. They can't do a real investigation into whether, Nancy Pelosi was really on.
Why aren't they arresting Schumer? He said people should forcefully rise up against Trump. That's an incitement to violence.
Very clear.
Why isn't Girl Boss Super Lawyer doing any of this?
You got me.
Do you think it's because she's too busy doing her makeup? I don't know. I mean, women spend a lot of time doing their makeup. Maybe it's like you only got so many hours in the day.
But it's jarring. It's disheartening. It's demoralizing, to use a term Phil used earlier. She has to do something. We need to see more indictments.
Does it count as locker room talk that I made fun of women for putting on makeup, taking too long to do so?
Yes,
I think it's right on the line of locker room talk.
Christy Noem right outside of the locker room.
Yeah, exactly.
Christy Noem joins her just before she does one of her press conferences.
Christy Noem is hilarious.
But the other problem with that is public perception also matters. And one of the things is when they arrest Donald Trump, when they arrest Republicans, when they arrest J6ers, they're seen, at least in the eyes of the mainstream media, which is then projected out to half the country, that they're doing the Lord's work. They are enacting the law. They're making sure that they keep us safe. But anytime anybody in a Republican government actually goes after people that are committing crimes, it's seen as locking up your political opponents, and that's just framed in a way that gives them a lot harder time getting through to people who might not actually be on their side to begin with.
Yeah, but in fairness, this podcast gets better ratings than CNN.
It's exactly.
So, there's a counterpoint now. Thank God. I mean, thank God for what's occurring with that, and thank God that the censorship is getting less. But there is a counterpoint now. We've got a new media that's actually far better than anything we used to have.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I mean, my response to what you were saying, Brett, is similar to what you said. Thank goodness the legacy media is dying. They don't have as much power to shape these narratives anymore.
Look, this is all true, but it's also part of why the United States is becoming more and more bifurcated and more people in their own bubble. People don't see other information or information from opposing views, and that's actually part of the problem.
Yeah. Amen. And it's why during the time when Jimmy Kimmel gets his 2-day suspension and Jane Fonda relaunches the Committee on the First Amendment, we have people talking about free speech and the death of free speech. At the same time, people in new media are talking about Google and the Biden administration putting through orders to YouTube to censor people because of COVID. It's like you are living in a completely different world than your neighbor. And I don't know if there is a way back for something like that, not with as bad as it's gotten.
You have to have shared narratives. Sorry, go ahead.
No, well, I'm the poster boy for censorship during COVID. I mean, literally, we broke everything starting out in COVID, and we couldn't get it out anywhere. But, despite that, I couldn't be more. I don't want my point to be drowning out other people. I want everybody to be able to speak. One of the problems we're seeing, though, now is with the new media. And I love what Musk is doing, but let's look at the algorithm, right? When I log on to X, I see me. I see 5 million people who agree with me. I don't get to see, and the Krasenstein brothers don't see what I post. I don't see what they post, right? It's really kind of become an echo chamber. I think that's contributing very much to the kind of, because when we talk, listen, certain things are just inarguable, right? There's certain things that are just facts. If we could at least come together on the things that are actually factually correct, we can argue how to deal with them.
You can't, because liberals intentionally lie.
And
they know they're lying.
With people who think men can get pregnant, how do you actually...
It's
like at a fundamental level.
I agree with you on that, but there's a difference between will and retardation. Mm-hmm. And so I mean the people who are literally, and I don't mean this derisively, YouTube, the people who are genuinely cognitively impaired who think men can get pregnant versus the liberals like the Krasensteins who make the argument Trump is a felon, despite the fact if you go on any AI and ask what happened with the felony case with Trump, it will tell you in an unprecedented first time in U.S. history fashion, prosecutors charge someone with felonies requiring an underlying crime without having proven this crime. It's never happened before that someone has been convicted of a felony without proving the crime behind that felony. Never happened. And I don't care if you like Trump or don't like Trump. So I get into this space because I was a fairly liberal guy and the media lied. And I said, well, hold on a minute. That's not true. Trump never said Nazis are fine people. The response that I get, why are you defending Trump? I'm not defending Trump. I'm calling out the media for lying. And to this day, there are still people who don't know that Trump never said that. So now you have the felony case where you get people like the Krasensteins who will go on X and they'll say Trump's a felon. They know. There's no way you can be these guys online 24/7 and believe they did not just read one article about what is unprecedented. Even if they disagree with the outcome, they know it is in contention and it's in appeal, but they'll lie anyway.
Yep.
Take a look at the shutdown argument. Democrats are going on CNN and saying, we don't want to give health care to illegal immigrants because they just changed their definition of illegal immigrant.
That's right. Yeah.
That was the very first article you read was they talked about the immigrants, our neighbors. But that's not who they're going after. They're going after illegal immigrants, which is why we made the point. I don't remember if it was IRL last Wednesday said that is a abusive language that's been going on for decades. What used to be illegal alien became illegal immigrant, which became undocumented immigrant, which became just immigrant. And it's been the same thing the entire time. It's somebody that is not here legally, who has committed a crime. But the point is the language has been used, first of all, to abuse the goodwill of people who don't pay close enough attention to these things to understand the difference. But for the people who are actually evil, it's done as a way to further their agenda without seeming to do so.
I got to be honest. Look, during Occupy Wall Street, I had a conversation with a bunch of these activists, and they were like, we're going to go march down the street, and that's going to change the game, right? And I said, no, it's not. And then I said, here's an analogy I'd like to use. There are warring feudal tribes of Japan. And one group sends their samurai to the gates of the other feudal lord. And they're banging on the gate, being like, let us in because we want words with you. And they're sitting in their fortress going like, we ain't opening that gate. Meanwhile, the other side sends ninja dressed like maidens carrying food and water. They open the gate and say, come on in. The maidens walk up to the king, knife him in the neck, and run out the window. Jump out the window, run away. I said, if you keep trying to face this head on, knocking on the door and saying, we challenge you to a duel, while they're sending in spies for sabotage and subterfuge, you lose. The point I'm making now is Republicans keep saying, we need to, oh no, a judge said Trump can't control the military, despite the fact that he literally can. And Trump is going, rats. I'm sitting here being like, this is the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen. A judge has no authority to tell Trump he can't deploy the military. So why should Trump have to abide by an unconstitutional ruling? But let's flip it. Why is it that Trump will not take the same or commensurate unconstitutional actions these judges will? Why is it that every time a judge does something unconstitutional, Trump goes, rats? What if it was flipped? Well, it was. During the Biden administration, they arrested Trump's lawyers, unconstitutional. And Trump and everybody went along with it. You know what I said? I said when they first indicted Trump, he should have flown to Mar-a-Lago and he should have said, come and get me.
I remember that.
Come down here. And then I want Ron DeSantis to tell his state troopers to assist the feds who are going to arrest me, take me from my home. Mm-hmm. He should have said, I will not go to New York to answer this indictment. New York must send troops here. And if they come to my door and show me the indictment, I will gladly go back to New York to answer for this. And DeSantis will then have to allow it to happen in his state. Instead, Trump said, okay, I'm going to go fly to New York, knowing full well it was wrong. Same thing with Atlanta in Georgia. And they arrested Jenna Ellis, who turned out to be a coward, by the way, who dropped to her knees and begged for forgiveness, saying, please don't hurt me. But this is what we are dealing with right now. What would happen if Trump simply said, the judge's ruling is purely unconstitutional, and I will not abide by the judiciary acting outside of the Constitution? The president has final authority over the National Guard. They have agreed I can federalize, thus I have command. I will deploy them to go protect a federal building. This is not in violation of posse comitatus. Trump won't do it. He's just saying, okay,
Well, he's been told he has to, but here's the thing. There's historical precedent for it. There has been times, some of the separation of powers, some of the immunity, some of the things that the powers that the president they enjoy now, because there were a couple times in the past where the president told the judicial branch to pound sand. At the end of the day, the president is the commander-in-chief of the military, period. The judicial branch is not. You can read it. It's the plain language of the Constitution. But we've got to ask ourselves, who keeps telling Trump to stand down? I mean, Trump, if we look at Trump historically, the thing we loved about him most was he's a fighter. Why is he walking around like he's a wuss right now?
Well, the argument may be that he wants to put more of the PR on the Supreme Court. So with these actions, he can say, look, we have always abided by the judges. The problem is the corporate press, no matter what Trump does, lies about it.
Exactly.
They don't care anyways.
But here's the point. ABC7 Chicago outright said Trump is defying court orders because the feds are, because they're using tear gas. It doesn't matter what Trump does. It's wrong. Mm-hmm. Even if Trump literally says, I love the left and trans kids and we're going to tax the rich, they would alter his statements out of context and then accuse him of trying to murder people.
So quit bothering. Why try? Quit trying. Just win. We elected you to win. That's what we want. I don't want Pam Bondi to tell me why she hasn't filed a case. I don't want more meetings with Anthony Bourla and Bill Gates. I don't want Mark Zuckerberg in the White House. I want you to win. I want to see people in jail. I want you to be the leader you are. That's what I want. That's what we voted for.
Let's just, you want to make one more
I just don't think that that's Trump. As much as there are people that are like, oh, I love Trump and he's the guy and blah, blah, blah. I don't think that's Trump. He just, we've seen this, we saw this in his first administration and we're seeing it now. I don't think that he has the intestinal fortitude to actually do the things that we're talking about.
Let's jump to this next story from NPR. Analyzing Dominion voting system sale to firm run by ex-Republican elections official. We had talked about this a little bit. We didn't get into it when the news broke because I don't think much of it. But liberals are framing this as though Republicans have purchased Dominion so they can rig the elections in 2026 and 28.
But that's impossible.
It is. It's not possible at all. Dominion couldn't possibly rig the elections, right?
That's what I've been told.
Yeah.
Now, do y'all believe Dominion has the capability to rig an election?
Well, I know for a fact that they can't because I was repeatedly told that they can't by legacy media.
And this is a real question now. We're past the jokes, Seamus. You're a funny man.
I think I'm being sincere. I trust the mainstream. I don't know why you would assume that I was being cheeky. No, I actually do think it's telling that when someone says they trust legacy media, it's like, okay, be serious.
I don't.
But I mean, listen, I don't know how you could possibly make the argument that if you have an entire infrastructure set up for allowing people to vote digitally, that the people in control of that infrastructure are going to be totally incapable of ever changing any ballots. Maybe I just don't know enough about the technology, but it seems like a stretch to say that's not possible.
I have an idea for a poll for the audience. If you believe Dominion can manipulate elections, super chat us $10. I'm kidding. Do it anyway. I believe that Dominion voting systems, through their voting systems, one could rig an election. I'm not saying that Dominion as a company has done it or would do it, but clearly with such massive voting infrastructure, if someone found a means to remotely access these systems, of course you can. Liberals are now concerned that Republicans will do just that. I'm sitting here thinking like, okay, like what is the reality that a former Republican elections official bought Dominion so that they've routed the deep state, they've attacked their financial infrastructure, and now they've purchased Dominion so they'll never lose again. I can't say that I'm
to go to
mad about
paper
it.
ballots.
I want to make one quick point about this, though, because not knowing who this ex-Republican is, we saw a lot of backstabbers in the Republican Party, the legacy Republicans, the neocons say, Kamala Harris is actually the most qualified candidate and the best choice for this nation.
Ridiculous.
So when we hear that it's an ex-Republican, I actually don't know what that means.
The Lincoln Project Republican.
Yeah,
is that what we're talking about,
exactly.
Guys? Look, it's time to go to paper ballots. I think that the left can now agree with us on that the safest election will be one where you have to go in person and vote on a little piece of paper.
Mm-hmm. I said that I saw the some crazy leftist on TikTok was talking about this, and I saw the video, and that's my initial reaction as well. If they're concerned, then we should go to single day voting on paper. That's it. One day on paper. Florida knows how to do it.
No
they
mail.
They end up in Florida. They end up with the election results, with their results within an hour or so after the close of the polls. They did this because of the absolute S show that happened in the year 2000 with the whole hanging chads and stuff. They overhauled their whole system. The rest of the country has a blueprint that they have offered to give to them, to every other state. Every other state has a blueprint of what actually works, and other states have refused because they like the fact that it's a mess.
But gentlemen, to the question, how do you feel were the scenario, how would you feel were the scenario to be Republicans literally bought Dominion and will rig the election in Republicans' favor?
I'd want the Republicans in jail just like I'd want the Democrats in jail. I want anybody who's screwing with my election in jail. I want a fair and honest election, and I don't care how we get there.
So you would prefer Democrats to be in charge fairly than for Republicans to win by illicit means?
As long as I had the fair opportunity for we the people to rise up then, right? So, I mean, at the end of the day, we're a nation governed by law and ideals, and I want to get back to truth. Tim, you said, just in prep for the show, you talked about your appreciation, your desire to get to truth. This is about truth. I don't believe if we get the truth out there that American people are going to in any way, shape, or form support the absolute insanity we have here.
I honestly... I'm not speaking to you, but I think to the generality, most people would prefer to win the election illicitly than lose to their ideological enemies fairly. And people might try to claim otherwise, but they typically only do that when they feel like they are actually winning. So in the United States, when we have a relatively homogenous culture with minor disagreements, like if you go back to the 90s, people are going to be like, no, let's have a fair election because the stakes were minimal. If Democrats won, taxes might go up a little bit in some areas, certain benefits would be received in blue states, and people got mad about it. Today, we are talking about if Democrats win, they will let another 20 million illegal immigrants into this country. They will completely destroy the fabric of American tradition, and they will likely jail Trump, his administration. They will hunt down people who supported Trump and put them in solitary confinement like they already did. They'll arrest opposition media and journalists. And so if you're asking me personally how I feel about the idea, I'll put it like this. My personal feeling is that if Democrats win, they will try to put me in prison. If Republicans win, I'm going to be okay. I'd rather not go to prison on false grounds and be tortured by political psychopaths and communist BS. So for the layman, for the average person, the question is, would you prefer people fairly... let's put it this way. Let's just ignore Dominion and all this argument, and I'll ask you this question. Would you be okay living in a country that voted in a communist dictatorship?
No.
Would you do anything to stop the communist dictatorship from taking over?
Well, I wouldn't lower myself to becoming a part of the communist dictatorship. And if I vote to implement a communist dictatorship on my side, I'm no better than the other side.
No, you're not bringing in a communist dictatorship. Like, was Franco bringing in a communist dictatorship?
Well, listen, if I'm voting to put Republicans in illicitly, and they give me the illusion of freedom, am I really free?
No one ever said that.
That's what I think we're looking at, though.
We're saying that there are individuals who believe in a constitutional republic of America, but know that the system created by Democrats over the past 10 years has weighed it in favor of a communist dictatorship that you will never escape. You have the opportunity to, by force, stop that from happening. Would you choose to allow the communist dictator to take over, or would you stand with the constitutional Republicanists to prevent it from happening?
I don't think that we're standing with the constitutional Republicanists. I don't think we're doing it. I don't think the premise of the question is correct.
I asked, would you stand with a constitutional Republicanist to stop by force a communist dictator?
By force, yes.
To stop, and so the force here is coercive.
So if the force is an outright revolution, I would stand for a revolution.
But again, the question is, you have the ability to use coercive force to prevent a communist dictator from taking over your country. Would you do it?
As long as we're honest about what we're doing.
Well, that's not coercive force.
Well, if we're practicing the same thing that the Democrats are doing, how are we any better?
So we don't sterilize children substantially less likely to abort them before they're born. We don't try to imprison our political opponents.
Do you trust?
We don't put people. I mean, the list. We don't create false felony charges. We don't falsely accuse people of rape. The list goes on of the things we do not do. And so again, the question that I'm bringing up is: would a group of people say, "Well, they outvoted us. I guess communists have taken over, and I'm going to die"? Or would you be like, "I will do anything to not die"? And I don't think it's reasonable to agree that the average person would just be like, "Hey, look, the communists have taken over and they're coming to kill me." No, what happens is you get partisan violence in every single circumstance, in every facet of history.
Agreed.
So again, when throw it to the Spanish Civil War, basically the nationalists won an election and then did not stop the communists. And so what happened? Several years later, the communists took back political power and immediately began running roughshod over the country.
Killing priests and nuns and digging up dead nuns' bodies and putting them on display.
And that's when Franco, who was stationed in Morocco, was like, "Guys, if we let this keep happening, like, we are going to die." And so he sailed up back to Spain, rallied a bunch of guys. They found out what he was doing, attacked. Boom! All of a sudden, civil war broke out. Mm-hmm. It wasn't a declaration. It was pockets forming throughout the country that sided with Franco's coalition.
Well, there's another important point with that entire situation, too, that a lot of people don't touch on, was that the communist Spanish government, or the attempted communist Spanish government, was essentially just a vassal state of the USSR. They sent something like 70% of Spain's gold reserves to the Russians.
Right. And one of the concerns of the nationalists was that the communists were actually in control. The Soviets were in control of the communist faction in Spain, and that they were about to become a vassal, as you're saying, of the Soviet of the Soviet Union.
And how many millions would have died if that had happened? How many more millions?
I'll just put it like this: there is a fine line. I think most people in this country are ignorant of moral philosophy. Mm-hmm. I think that. I've had so many conversations with conservatives who are like, "We believe in the Constitution," ignoring the fact that they don't. They literally don't. Nobody believes in the Constitution. It's a lie. And I know there's going to be people who are going to say, "I do," but I'm going to make the point again. Seamus, question. Mm-hmm. Do you think blasphemy should be illegal?
I think that the church says you can allow tolerations for horrible things if you would incur a greater evil by policing them. So right now in the United States, if you locked people up for blasphemy, that would be a disaster. You couldn't do that. But in a small Catholic country, of course, blasphemy shouldn't be legal.
Blasphemy was illegal when this country was founded.
Yeah, and porn was illegal too.
And so was swearing in public.
Yes.
And you had to profess faith in a Protestant God in most states in order to hold office. Maryland was the exception because they were Catholic, and Virginia because Jefferson was deist. You still had to profess a faith in God, however. This was in every constitution of the founding colonies, founding states. Today, it's a dramatically different country where even devout Seamus himself says we must tolerate a degree of blasphemy.
Well, no, that's actually not my argument. This is a Thomistic argument. Aquinas has said that there are certain evils that if you would incur greater evil by policing them, you don't police it. So this is not because I'm a modern American. This is like a medieval Catholic teaching.
It doesn't matter what you are. Your view of the Constitution is at odds with the Founding Fathers. That's my point.
Oh, yeah, you're right that my view of the Constitution might be at odds with the Founding Fathers. Yeah.
But
there could be ways in which that's
But
true.
literally it is. Yeah. Right? The right to keep and bear arms, the federal level, did not pertain to state law. So when they said you have a right to keep and bear arms, they were saying this federal constitution bars the federal government from stopping it. States can ban guns all they want, and many of them did in various ways.
Well, then we had the 14th Amendment, which I would argue. Yeah. But listen, I'm gonna tell you, Tim. I respectfully, and I mean this with respect, because I'll be in jail next to you. Right? Mm-hmm. If this was to go down, I will be in jail right next to you, very quickly. I will tell you this. When I went through the fight with COVID, it damaged my family. I lost my money. I lost almost everything you can lose. I've put it out there. I've been willing to lose it. I'll lose it again before I'll sell out. The one thing that I've got, and the one thing that distinguishes me from some of the leftists that I've spent the last 5.5 years fighting nonstop, is that I will not sell out from my principles. Now, maybe they're at odds from the founding. Maybe they're not. I'm sure that they're imperfect.
But what does that mean?
But what it means is no. I will not support the Republicans doing the same thing that the Democrats are doing, because power corrupts, absolute power corrupts absolutely. And I have absolutely no reason to believe that if we gave the Republican Party, who is full of rhinos, full of sellouts, and we just talked about Donald Trump, trying to please everybody. I have no reason on this planet to believe that they would be any better if we gave them absolute power. So I want us to be the check.
And that's not my question. My question is moral philosophy. Would you use coercive force to defend your worldview from a communist authoritarian? Not, would you side with specific American political faction? I don't care about the Republicans. I'm saying, would you personally choose to use manipulative, coercive force to prevent a communist dictator from coming into power and murdering people and kidnapping people and gulagging people?
So long as I didn't have to become that, as long as I didn't have to empower myself or anyone else to become what I'm fighting, yes.
Right. So then, yeah, I mean, I don't understand.
Well, what I'm saying is listen, propaganda is propaganda. We use propaganda every day. I go in the media, I do my show, I use propaganda. Is that manipulative? Well, I guess.
So coercive force means there's physical force, overt, going up to someone, pointing a gun to their head, and saying you don't vote. I'm talking about, would you be party to a manipulation of an election to prevent communists from taking over, knowing that you and the people that you're working with will have a fair and genuine democratic institution moving forward?
No, because I don't think we need to. No is my answer, because I don't think it's necessary.
Right. So, okay. So I disagree. And I think when you look throughout history, there's reasons why, say, Catalonia, for instance, got wiped out and crushed and barely existed as an anarcho state, and why anarchist societies have never existed, and why Genghis Khan and Alexander the Great, Napoleon were successful as they were, despite the fact Napoleon was like, I'm going to Russia in the winter for some reason.
Terrible idea.
It's because what we find, even in today's modern political context, is that everything we believe about the virtues of American society were only based upon the fact that we had a moral and virtuous society.
True.
Everybody basically agreed. Now that we have a large portion of the country that does not agree, they are beating the crap out of us, and we're just taking it.
Agreed.
And so the end result of that scenario will be the same as Catalonia. We will be beaten, gulagged, and they will exhume nuns' corpses and desecrate them.
Do you think, Tim, so you don't believe that if we leverage the infrastructure that we currently have under the law and everything else, do you think we're past the point of no return, and that really we're at a point where we really may have to do that? Because I don't think we are. I think that if we were to leverage the authority that we have under the existing Constitution, under the existing law, that we don't have to get to that point. And the question is interesting as an academic question, but from a practical standpoint, I think that we still have a good chance to win this if we're willing to fight for it.
Let's try this. Do you think that illegal immigrants vote?
Do I think they do? Yes.
Yeah. Do you think that they vote in such numbers that they impact our elections?
Absolutely.
How do we go into a Democrat jurisdiction and tell them that the laws they've enacted and their policies are now void?
Well, we should be doing that through the courts anyways.
Well, the courts are siding with them, and they're telling Trump he can't do things that he clearly can.
Oh, I agreed. So
So the courts, right, here's my point. Courts are saying we will protect the illicit activities.
Yes, they are.
So would your solution then be Trump? Okay, so they are doing it.
Yes.
The courts have defended this illicit conduct.
Yes.
They've barred people from watching elections.
Yes.
They've destroyed election data.
Yes.
They're likely going to do it again.
Yes.
What is our recourse?
Right now, we need to be arresting. We need to be impeaching judges. We need to not be arresting the guy on the street. We need to be arresting the people who are behind this. You and I can get on the internet, and in 5 minutes we can say, hey, look, it looks like money's going from here to here to here. This guy's funding the riots. This guy's funding this. This guy's funding that. The research is there. The data is there. We could take action. And we can impeach judges. We can we can do things. We're just not choosing to, and we're putting ourselves in a position where we're going to have to do what you're saying.
Let's keep going. So I just wanted to fact check myself here because I was pretty sure I had this right, but and I am. We can't impeach federal judges. It can't be done.
Why is that?
You need 2/3 majority of the Senate in order to impeach a judge.
That's true.
So that's an impossibility. So. If the opinion of an individual, you or anyone else, is that judges are issuing unconstitutional orders, they are defending illicit voting practices, they are unconstitutionally altering the voting system, we can't impeach them because we don't have enough political authority in the Senate. If we do nothing, they will win elections illicitly, and then we'll be ruled over by evil. What's our course of action?
Listen, I agree with you. I don't think we're quite to the point that we need to do this. Now, I will tell you, we also can't, just for anybody asking, we also can't arrest the judges under the concept. We literally, we don't have the authority. You can't do that to a judge that's acting within the scope of their position, right?
I think there's a couple things you can do. One is buy Dominion voting systems and then be in control of the private voting mechanisms to make sure that the illicit voting doesn't happen.
I'm all in favor of making sure that it's not happening. I'm not in favor of doing the same thing they're doing. If Dominion did, in fact, manipulate the last election, and we need to buy it to make sure that doesn't happen in the next election, I'm all in favor of that. But there's a difference between buying it to make sure that there's no fraud in the next election or any future election, and using it to manipulate the election.
I'm curious what you think, Seamus.
So there's a really fascinating debate in Catholic ethics, and particularly Thomistic ethics. Well, it's not as debated amongst Thomists. They're mostly on one side. But whether lying is ever acceptable, even for a very good cause. So this would include things like undercover police work, where you know you're actually catching bad people, but it requires for you to tell a lie in order to do so, because Christ says he is the way and the truth and the life. And we as Christians believe that the truth is a person, and that person is Jesus Christ. And therefore, any denial of the truth is a denial of Christ. And so there's intense theological debate if even lying to save a life is something that you're allowed to do.
My view is actually fairly simple. If you stand on pious ground and say, I will be but a fair arbiter of truth, they're going to be like, hey, I can club him over the head and take all his stuff.
They can kill my body. They can't kill my soul.
But that does mean dark days for this country, indeed. And if that's the world that you live in, so be it. I'm not saying your moral worldview is incorrect.
But what if we cheat otherwise?
Cheat otherwise? And what do you mean?
Okay, so what if we play dirty? We didn't set the rules of the street fight. They did. We can use lawfare just like they did. We can weaponize the DOJ just like they did, right? There's limits to what we can do, but they've set the rules. They've set the precedent, right? If it's okay to raid Melania's underwear drawer, why can't we raid Adam Schiff's, right?
We really don't want to. That's
I really don't want to. But here's the deal. I agree with you.
We'll let that one go. You keep it.
It's like, I don't want to know what's in his Schiff
poor FBI agent who gets that duty. That sucks.
Horrible PTSD.
There might be a joke about a Schiff-stained underwear. I mean, but no, listen, here's the deal. We don't have to go full-fledged Democrat to use very clearly the rules that they've set, the precedent they've set. We can be very aggressive in our law enforcement. We can do a lot of things. And, there's even an argument to be made. How about this one for you, Tim, right? So you can't go and arrest a judge who's acting within the scope of their duties. But what if you've got evidence that a judge is outright committing some sort of a fraudulent action in what they're doing? Why don't we try arresting
Show me the
one?
Man and I'll show you the crime.
Absolutely.
We can arrest any judge we want.
Absolutely. So why don't we start leveraging that? Why don't we use the same weaponized DOJ they used against us?
Okay, so
why don't we play that game?
Because Donald Trump doesn't have the courage to do that.
Well, let's ask the question. Mm-hmm. Okay, so let's use Wisconsin. Actually, no, let's do Pennsylvania because of Texas v. Pennsylvania. Are you familiar with Texas?
Oh, yeah.
Massive suit. So Pennsylvania was sued because they altered the rules of their election outside of the frames of the federal Constitution. Yep. And the Supreme Court refused to hear it. So what happens if Trump then says, well, these judges have mortgage fraud. Let's arrest them all and take the piece off the board. And then we'll get people in who will do the right thing. Yep. What do you think the response from Democrats in Pennsylvania will be if Trump were to do that?
Well, I kind of don't care, right? Because you're talking about can we use Dominion to steal the election? And I'm saying, no, we shouldn't. I'm okay with them being mad at me. Well, I'm okay with a fight.
But I'm saying, we know that in Pennsylvania, it was the judiciary that altered their state election.
100%.
Texas argued that violated the federal Constitution because only the state legislature can do that, and they did not. So let's say Trump says, we need to remove a corrupt judiciary through legal use of force in the executive branch, arrests for legitimate criminal activity. What will Democrats do if Trump legitimately arrests the state Supreme Court of Pennsylvania?
Well, they're going to have a stroke. They're going to do everything they can to activate every rioter, to activate everything that they can do on this. There's no question about that. And what's worse is we already know that they don't play by the rules. But at the end of the day, this part, I agree with you, right? So I agree with you 100%. We have to take strong and aggressive steps. My point is not that we don't have to take strong and aggressive steps. I'm frustrated as hell that we're not. My point, though, is that the steps that we take, there have to be limitations, right? I don't want to trade freedom for tyranny on either side. I don't trust the government. I don't trust anyone in our government. I will never trust them. After they put the masks on my kids, hell no, am I going to ever trust them again.
And so I think this is I don't mean this derisively. I used to think this way when I was about 20, that the use, I was very critical of all use of force. Today, I look at the ICE agents that are risking their lives in Chicago to deport criminal aliens, illegal immigrants, because I voted to do it.
Amen.
The reality here is that I, Tim Pool, went to a voting booth and said, I want this to be done.
Yep.
I then asked these men to stand in harm's way at my behest to do a job that I am not doing and honestly not willing to do.
Yeah.
I don't view that exercise of authority by law enforcement as illicit, nor do I view it as authoritarian. In fact, I look at these men as men I personally hired to do a job I wanted done. So the argument then is, we are not looking at a foreign body of power that we will put into power and then will be oppressed by. We are quite literally saying we want these men to be empowered and protected because they're acting out our will.
100%.
If Trump, as Trump carries on, he's actually doing more than any president has ever done, in my opinion, for the people who voted for him.
Agreed.
So I do not view the Republican victories as a threat to my life, as tyrannical or authoritarian. It's actually the will of the popular vote, which is as democratic as we've seen in a long time. When the Republicans win, we are seeing legitimate use of force as derived by the people. When the Democrats win, it's not. Now, to be fair, I don't think any regular voter who voted for Biden expected him to go and arrest Trump's lawyers. The only problem is they didn't care when he did.
They don't care.
They don't care. So we know what Democrats will do when they receive power from the people, and it is illicit. And we know that when Trump and his administration receives power from the people, it's actually fairly weak. I have no problem with them winning. Now, the ultimate issue, again, is, I say this quite a bit, I have changed my argument. I used to say if everyone had the moral worldview of Seamus Coughlin. Now I say if everyone had the moral worldview of Charlie Kirk, we would need no police. You would need no ballot security. This country would run like a well-oiled machine.
Amen.
And crime would be near zero. You'd need civil courts because sometimes people have misunderstandings. I thought the contract was going to mean this, and they get angry with each other. And of course, sometimes there's murder and there's going to be passion and things like this, but you really wouldn't need active police force in every jurisdiction because people wouldn't be aggressing against each other to any meaningful degree.
Yeah, the more laws you need, the worse shape your country's in.
Agreed. Yeah. And so the point we're at now is Democrats are not going to respect any use of force, be it legitimate or otherwise.
Yeah.
They are going to violently resist as they are right now.
The question of legitimacy isn't even on the table because whether or not the conservatives or Republicans are using legitimate power, the Democrats are going to say that it's illegitimate. Yeah. This is something we talked about last night. This is not a question of who has the better argument. The left doesn't care what your argument is. The left is going to use whatever argument is functional at the time, and they're going to make that argument trying to get you to concede their point. They use your principles against you. They don't care about the Constitution. They don't care about the freedom of speech. They don't care about anything that makes America America. They only care about power.
Take a look at the State Department. They just deported. Actually, let's pull this one up. They deported people. We'll pull this story up. We'll kick this one off. Here we go. We've got this story from Politico. State Department revokes visas over Kirk criticism. The department did not identify the visa holders by name or specify what type of visas were revoked, but we do have some information. Some of them, I believe, were student visas. 6 were revoked because they celebrated the assassination of Charlie Kirk. Now, take a look at the second line from Politico. The move has drawn criticism from free speech advocates. Take a look at how the media describes these people.
Yeah.
Free speech advocates.
As if they've ever been free speech advocates on literally anything else their entire lives.
They are not free speech advocates. They are illegal immigration advocate leftists who will lie, cheat, and steal to destroy this country. These same people on X who are claiming it's a violation of free speech celebrated the banning of Alex Jones and every conservative all day and night. And this is the game they play. They adopt free speech when it's a power they want.
Yes.
Yeah.
So going back to what we were talking about in the previous segment, the high priests of the left and the liberal base literally do not care about what is or is not legitimate. They only care what they will get away with.
Agreed.
If we are going to stand back and accept every argument they make, we will find ourselves in gulags by authoritarians.
Agreed.
There comes a point when a conversation has to be had about how you defend your way of life. Right now, we, the people of this country, duly elected Donald Trump and have empowered ICE, DHS to begin deporting illegal immigrants.
Agreed.
California has declared a state of emergency over this. Zoran Mamdani said he will protect his people, illegal immigrants, from us. They have told us in no uncertain terms they are an entirely separate nation. They are the multicultural democracy of America. We are the constitutional republic of America. In that regard, I have no concern whatsoever over the laws of a foreign nation. The UK, a UK chief of police said he was going to extradite Americans, and we all laughed, didn't we?
Yeah.
So when the king of Tajikapopoulos says it's illegal to arrest somebody who committed a crime, we laugh and say, who are you? When these judges and these leftists lie, cheat, and steal and try to exert illegitimate authority, the problem we face right now is that Donald Trump is going, I guess that clown over there who's honking his horn must be right. The clown warrant is a real warrant. And then Trump backs off.
Look, this is Karl Popper's paradox of tolerance. That's exactly what we're dealing with right now. Our system only works when everybody agrees on how the system works.
Yes.
When people refuse to engage in the system in an honest way, then they're trying to circumvent the system, trying to use things like the freedom of speech or what have you against people that are coming to the debate or argument with an honest perspective. Then the system breaks down.
Agreed.
And so at what point do you say we no longer tolerate this stuff? And if they're using the government to just arrest their political opponents, that's the time when you say we can't tolerate this anymore. And we're not talking about something in the future. This is what they've already done in the past.
Here is the wall. Here's the wall. Here is the line. Here's what we are facing. Democrat-aligned judges are issuing orders that are unconstitutional. Donald Trump is saying rats. Guess I have to abide by it. Why must our side listen to unconstitutional edict and not act? This is the crazy thing. There's a few different. There's a tilt to this, right? You could have on the left and the right constitutional orders, constitutional actions, and we all say, well, that's the way the cookie crumbles. Then you go like this. This is where we currently are at. It is unconstitutional on the left, and the right is abiding by it. It could be the other way. Trump acts unconstitutionally, and the left says, oh, dear, help us. What is happening right now is Trump isn't even acting within the scope of his constitutional powers.
Right.
That's right.
We will lose.
We're going to get our butts handed to us, and I agree with you. You and I are on the exact same page here. Right up to the Dominion voting machines, we need to start acting.
Well, I don't
we
think
need
we're
to
on a different
start
page on
fighting.
the voting machines.
Well, maybe not. But in terms of what's going on, we've got to step this up big time. We need to leverage every single thing that the left has used against us, turn it back around, and smack them with it. 100%. They've set the precedent. We have the authority. Listen, it's the L.A. story that we had at the beginning of the show, right? Those guys broke the law. Arrest the whole darn government. Arrest them all. Put them in jail. You know what? You guys want to riot over it? Guess what? We're going to put the rioters in jail too. Amen. If we have to make bigger prisons, you're all going to jail. It doesn't matter.
I firmly believe that again, L.A. declaring a state of emergency over real law enforcement, like
insane,
shows that there's no path forward. If Trump goes into L.A. and says we are assuming control, we are declaring an insurrection, you will have a civil war overnight.
But we're going to have it anyways, right? Because I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going to tell you, if they steal another election, if whatever happens, if the Democrats come back like you're saying, do you think that I'm going to go to a prison camp peacefully? I got news for you, brother. I'm standing. And that's the way it's going to be. So we're at a point now, and this is a terrifying moment in American history, and I don't say this lightly. We are at a point now where we have to decide whether we are going to follow the law, follow the Constitution, follow what we think, what Charlie Kirk spoke about. If we're going to be the nation he dreamed we could be, or if we're going to let it all go to the toilet because we don't have the gonads to speak up, to put people in jail because they might be mad, they might protest, they might, good. You know what? Bring it. I want to know who we need to put in jail because let's put them all there.
I got a quote for you guys. Oh, it were better to be a poor fisherman than to meddle with the government of men. Denton.
Oh, boy.
Oh, yeah. So
Until the fish put you on trial on trumped up charges. And they go, that kind of bait is not regulation, as a matter of fact.
you were oppressing our people. Over the past couple of weeks, I mentioned this earlier, the escalation has been so psychotic.
It is.
The police cruiser blown up in Boston, a roving band of just barbarians running around. I'm like, geez. We've had 3 or 4 terror attacks on ICE. We've had DHS get attacked on the streets of Chicago. 3 times their vehicles were rammed. Numerous instances where bystanders attacked federal officers to aid and abet illegal immigrants. The cities, the governors, the judges rejecting the constitutional authority of the duly elected federal government. It is more clear than ever that confidence of the American people is bifurcated. What is government? It is confidence. The belief that there is an authority structure above you must abide by. Half the country no longer feels that there's any legitimate authority of Donald Trump or the federal government. This is only going to get worse as the younger generation gets older and gains access to the seats of power and our infrastructure. If we are to respond now, and Trump says, I don't care what some judge rules, that's unconstitutional, I can deploy the National Guard under the protective principle. Democrats will then say Trump has gone rogue. In fact, they're saying it anyway. After a bunch of rocks were thrown at federal law enforcement and they launched tear gas, ABC7 Chicago said federal law enforcement are now defying court orders and tear gassing people in Chicago. Liberals don't care what is fair, what is true. They care about winning by any means necessary. The reaction then from Trump is going to be, we got to send in the troops, right? That's already what he's trying to do. In Portland, in California, he's already done it in California. The reaction is a state of emergency. The government is going to line up against the state governments will line up against the federal government. We've seen now in Portland and in Illinois reports that the mayors, and I'm not sure in Illinois if it's the mayor or the governor, but in Portland, I believe it was the police were instructed to start gathering evidence against federal law enforcement for criminal charges. In California, Gavin Newsom passed a law that says as of January 1st, 26, federal law enforcement must remove all their masks. Otherwise, it's a misdemeanor charge. Many people said Newsom will never enforce this law against these police, which is an absurdity considering they already arrested Trump's lawyers.
Yeah.
There's nothing that's going to stop these people. So then the point you made, which I don't disagree with, that's on the table. Trump going in Reconstruction era political style, occupying city and state government and saying, we are in control now by force. We are going to reform your electoral process and fix this insurrection, in which case, civil war.
Well, maybe. I mean, I think we've got to be very careful doing that. It's a huge, huge risk, right? I mean, because you're right. We got some crazy, crazy people, and it has to be done by the letter of the law. This is why I think that it's so critical that we're careful in how we do this, but that we leverage everything we've got. The problem I'm seeing is when I look at this as an attorney, I see so much that's being left on the table. There's so many opportunities. You know, one of the things that we can do is we talk about, and Trump is doing a lot of stuff, right? Cutting off money. The USAID thing was huge, but it wasn't just USAID that's funding this. We have to cut the money off from the billionaire crowd that's funding this, the foreign nation crowd that's funding this, all the different groups. I mean, we got the CCP all over this country. We got so much foreign influence from all these different places. Listen, America first means something. We got to get rid of these foreign nations that are influencing things for their own good. We've got to get rid of the corruption from top down. And the billionaire elitists need to quit getting invites to the White House. They need to be investigated if they're doing something wrong. We can celebrate the guys who are billionaires that are good and doing good things. That's fine. Being rich doesn't make you bad. But we really have to start pulling out all the stops. And this is my frustration and why I talk about DOJ. There's a lot of things that could be being done. We're not doing them. We're coming up on midterms. And if we don't see some people in jail, if we don't see some big people, if we don't see real accountability, we're going to lose this.
We're going to jump to something apolitical, not so much political, because normally we jump to the super chats, but I got to squeeze this one in because, ladies and gentlemen, I am at war with Liquid Death. If those aren't familiar, Liquid Death is a canned water and flavored water beverage company. And I tweeted this. Now that I don't have to be polite anymore, Liquid Death is absolute-ish and misleads the public into thinking they don't use plastic, but their cans are lined with plastic. We will be office spacing the remainder of our stock, which we did. We went outside and we just smashed all the cans. I was informed yesterday that Liquid Death has fired their entire professional skateboard team. I don't like Liquid Death. I've never been a big fan. I actually don't mind their drinks. Actually, I'll give credit to their drinks. Let me pause for a second. The brand is terrible. The low sugar tea, actually not bad. So shout out to Liquid Death in that regard. I don't care for canned water. I think it's kind of cringe marketing, whatever. Richie Jackson, who is a friend of ours and rides for our skate company, the Boonies, was also sponsored by Liquid Death and informed me that he had been, as well as everyone from the skateboard team, terminated. The only reason I held my tongue on Liquid Death was out of the conflict of interest. Now, some have said, why didn't you speak up sooner on this company? And I said, there's a conflict. I work with Richie. He's sponsored by them. It's now that he's not, Liquid Death has a slogan, death to plastic, on all of their products. Or I don't know about all of their products, but on all the cans you buy, it says death to plastic. So a couple of years ago, we had been talking about phthalates, PCBs, and other plastic leaching into drinks, and we find it gross. Most food is wrapped in plastic. What are you going to do about it? So I said, let's buy some glass bottles. We bought Saratoga Springs, bottled at the source spring water. I believe the twist-off caps do have some plastic, but hey, better than most, right? And we also bought plastic water bottles for those that literally don't care, because we're not diehard activists on plastic. We just say, let's just do a little bit better. Seamus is drinking plastic water bottles right now.
That's what you guys have. You don't have the glass ones anymore, do you?
We have the reusable glass ones downstairs.
Oh, I didn't know those were there. I'm going to use those.
pH 8.4, whatever that means.
So I don't care all that much. I'm drinking a Spindrift right now, and these cans are lined with plastic. So what happens is Richie tells me, he's like, hey, I ride for Liquid Death. We should get a bunch of this. It's in aluminum cans. And I was like, hey, that's a good point. So I bought a ton of it. We've restocked it consistently. And then my brother said, it's all plastic. And I did not know that aluminum cans were actually plastic bags. Take a look at this image. This is a Liquid Death can after the metal has been eaten away by caustic soda. And it's actually a plastic bag wrapped in aluminum. Had I known, and I did not know this, aluminum cans are actually aluminum plastic cans, I would have been like, hey, I'll order some whatever, but I'm not doing that. Instead, I stopped ordering glass bottles and I ordered Liquid Death cans because in my mind, I was like, now we have the alternative, until I found out it was actually all lined with plastic. What happened? In effect, Liquid Death tricked me through misleading marketing into stopping my purchase of glass bottles, which are like 99% plastic free, except for the cap, I believe, and into purchasing a higher quantity of single-use unrecyclable plastic through misleading marketing. I was pissed. I'm like, why do they say death to plastic when all of their products contain plastic? Well, I tweeted out, Liquid Death said, our founder would be happy to have a public debate with you about why you think the company is absolute-ish and the global issue of single-use plastic bottles, or is this more of a road rage kind of thing, just yelling out the window of your car as you drive away? Well, I then tweeted, gentlemen's bet, Liquid Death will back out as soon as management figures out who their social media person is tweeting with, and that I sponsor one of the team riders they just kicked off. Well, turns out we have confirmed Friday for a debate. And I'll just tell you exactly what I'm thinking, because there is no debate. It is plain as day. There is nothing barring Liquid Death from disclosing on all of their packages this product does contain 0.5 to 1, I believe it's 1 gram of plastic. The argument they're making is they're trying to trick you into thinking that because they exist, people are buying less plastic water bottles. That is false and illogical. And I'll give you a simple logical assessment. Tim Pool walks into a gas station. I am conscious of phthalates and PCBs and plastics and plastic pollution. What product will I buy? I have the choice between Nestle's brand of plastic water bottle or Saratoga Springs glass water bottle. It's obvious. I buy the glass water bottle. Joe Schmo does not give one crap about plastic. What product will he buy? He's going to buy a plastic water bottle. It's cheaper. 90 cents, $1.24 maybe. Now let's say Liquid Death enters the market and they write death to plastic on their cans. And I was unaware that all cans, all of them are lined with plastic. Hey, Coke doesn't advertise death to plastic. So I'm not really offended that they have plastic. I then walk into a gas station. I'm now looking at three choices: an expensive glass bottle, a cheaper can, or a plastic water bottle. And I say, death to plastic. I'll buy the cheaper can. Because of that, they have increased the consumption of plastic while trying to argue that people will choose not to drink out of plastic bottles. That is incorrect. In fact, I did the research, and there is nothing indicating any slump in sales of plastic water bottles since the emergence of Liquid Death. In fact, Liquid Death also launched something called Death Dust, which is single-use plastic packets with flavors that you can put into their water cans or into water in general. It is I believe it's a paper packet, foil lined with a plastic liner inside, because you have to keep it sealed. So this is a company that uses edgy marketing to convince people that they are anti-plastic. Meanwhile, they are generally just increasing unrecyclable single-use plastic consumption while pretending like they're not. I will stress again once more the logic. Anybody who already is aware of plastic pollution is going to buy non-plastic products. Anybody who doesn't care will buy a plastic water bottle. The only person they're marketing to is the person who may have purchased glass instead. By launching this product, they have displaced by 50% the amount of non-plastic water products that would be purchased on the market. They have consumed the market share and increased plastic. Therefore, we announced we are launching pool water. And it's funny because I already got people being like, Tim's the king of grifters by doing this. So it took us about 2 hours. And the response I got to the Liquid Death thing was that glass is too expensive. And Liquid Death can sell a cheap. So what they're really saying is, listen, people are going to buy the cheap product. And so there's much less plastic in a can. So people are going to buy the cheaper can. And I said, okay, at volume, he could make a big profit on glass bottles too. So why not sell glass? Honest question. We did the math. Did the research. It took us 2 hours to find an artesian water source in Virginia. This means it's a natural water aquifer that filters and cleans the water. And then it's UV blasted to kill off any bacteria. And they told us they could get this packaged out the door, expedited 3 weeks. That's how long it takes to do the production of the bottles, the labels, and then supply the waters and get them packaged for shipping. There probably will be plastic shrink wrap or something. I am not this, plastic's so evil. I would like there to be a product that reduces the amount of plastic in the food product we are consuming. And so long as people are going to drink water, why not have a glass bottle? Did the math. With this, pool water, which should be available for pre-order starting tomorrow. Pool water, huh? Andy, our boy Andy came up with the name. It's clever. We are going to make about 8 cents on every bottle we sell. We will not make money on this product, figuratively. Like, obviously, we can't lose money. So we will be earning about 8 cents per bottle. And that likely will not cover all of our staffing or anything. We're looking at probably aiming towards break even. If we were at volume, like Liquid Death, and selling millions, I think the estimates are 175 million cans. We'd be in the profit because the more volume you have, the more you can decrease your cost in bulk because everybody makes more money. So we'll put it this way. If we made 1 cent, we could reduce the price. If we made 1 cent per bottle but sold 175 million bottles, I think we're all pretty dang happy with that. Making 8 cents and selling 175 million bottles would be great. Right now, we're not looking to make much money, but we did this to prove a point. Liquid Death absolutely could have put their drink in glass bottles, which would reduce production of plastic and consumption of plastic, they could have used paper sticker labels, which are still going to contain some polymers because you can't get away from plastic. Instead, they chose to use plastic-lined cans, label it death to plastic, and then lead people to believe that they're somehow fighting this, not to mention the death dust, which increases plastic consumption. I've been asked why I care so much, because I care. If you follow me at all, you know that the one thing I really hate is people lying to you. When the corporate press lies. I've never been a staunch conservative. I am just here because the media won't stop lying about everything. I don't care who you are, what you do. I get pissed when people put out false information to rip people off. So that's why we launched this. And I'm going to have a debate with this guy on Friday, and I'm going to prove the point. I don't know what his argument's going to be because there's no proof or evidence that they've reduced plastic consumption at all. In fact, 1 for 1, every can Liquid Death produces is identical in plastic consumption to Coca-Cola. So what is the effing argument? Death to Plastic was a greenwashing lie to trick people who cared into buying a plastic product, and I am pissed about it.
So buy pool water.
I mean,
Sparkling water options too.
So eventually we are planning on doing sparkling water. They'll be called spa water. And the green tea we launch will be called pond water.
That's great.
That's the best product. I wonder what the FTC has to say about this. I mean, they really ought to be looking into it. It's deceptive advertising, deceptive marketing, in my opinion. I mean, to me, especially because I'm big in Maha, right? I mean, Maha's my space. The dangers of consuming, and listen, I have to consume things in plastic all the time. I can't lie and say that I don't, but to tell everybody, hey, we're plastic free, death to plastic, no plastic,
But they don't say that. That's the clever play. They don't say plastic free. They just say death to plastic, aluminum can, because they know the manipulation is the average person doesn't realize it's actually an aluminum plastic can. I think RFK Jr., I got to get him on the phone. It should be required under FTC that aluminum cans are labeled as aluminum and plastic cans.
Agreed. 100%. Listen, it's misleading. And I would argue that even though they don't come out and say plastic free, I would argue this is absolutely false, misleading advertising.
I think so.
100%.
I absolutely will pursue suit in some capacity. We have purchased a large amount of Liquid Death. I don't have a problem with consuming things out of plastic I should say I generally don't like consuming things out of plastic products, but I recognize the ubiquity of plastic. I also recognize creating vacuum seals for certain products is very difficult. We can't put every single powder in a glass tin or something, though they do sell a lot of drink mixes in tins. My problem is that they are lying to people and displacing the plastic alternative market. So you could absolutely purchase, like I said, this is artesian water. It is clean. It is pure. It is absolutely delicious. And it is the same price as Liquid Death without volume. If we were selling 175 million bottles of this stuff, we'd get the price way down and we'd be swimming in a profit. So we are making a minimal profit. The margins are slim as they come, just to prove that with 2 hours of research and simple graphic work, we can produce something cheaper than Liquid Death in a glass bottle. Why can't they? And why are they? Should I put death to plastic on my bottles? They can sue me.
Well, listen, at the end of the day, I really hope you see some action on this. And, I understand your margins are a little tight on this, but I'm hoping everybody buys the pool water because I guess it's the same thing. And I'm so tired of the lies, the misleading advertising, and we see it across the board. I mean, can I say safe and effective, anybody? I mean, it's just, I don't know. It's just nonsense. So this is great.
The other thing too is I'm fairly certain, I could be wrong, Liquid Death sources their water similarly from Virginia. I'm not sure if it's artesian or spring, but artesian basically means it's a well. Right, it's a natural aquifer, it's an underground water source of some sort. Here's the best part. In doing this research, we found out we're overpaying for our bottled water, even our plastic. So it's like we can have pure, clean water, all the garbage not in it, natural, good stuff, at a fraction of the cost in glass bottles. We were like, wow. Outside of the whole Liquid Death argument, we are going to order. Because, we got Seamus over here drinking Icelandic.
Yeah, I would prefer to be drinking it from a glass bottle. I think it's a really cool product. I think it's something that, even if I wasn't friends with you, this is something I would want to buy. This is something I would want to use.
I'm just saying, we will stop buying plastic water bottles because these are cheaper for us and they're in glass. And we will just stock up the IRL studio with pool water. And then people will drink pool water on the show.
And I know this isn't the primary concern.
We're also going to come up with a lemon flavored one with a little hint of yellow in it.
I think
that's still called pool water.
But even setting aside the concerns about plastics, there is just something nicer about drinking from a glass bottle. Do you remember when you were a kid and you can get like the glass Coca-Cola bottle instead of the plastic one, and you always wanted that?
You still can.
But do you remember the first time you saw one? Because for a while it was only plastic, and then they started marketing the glass ones, and I was like, I want that.
Here's my argument. Here's my question for Liquid Death. All sorts of drinks come in plastic bottles. What does producing a can masquerading as plastic free? How does that in any way alter the market, the landscape? I don't care if so they sell iced teas, sparkling flavored waters, and canned water. What's the effing difference? Coca-Cola sells their product in cans as well. They're using the idea of plastic pollution to sell you a plastic product. They are not displacing anything. If anything, they are tricking people who would normally buy glass into buying plastic. It's not going the other way around. We got to go to your Rumble rants and chat. So smash the like button, share the show, smash that like button. The uncensored portion of the show is coming up 10 p.m. at rumble.com/Timcast IRL. Join our Discord server at timcast.com to call in to the uncensored portion of the show. All right, we got Mythos 671. He says, FLA County, they are traitors.
Yeah.
Pinochet says, imagine if Tim's last name was Toilet instead of Pool. The joke wouldn't work as well. Pool water's gross enough, but it does kind of work. Pool water. My brother thought it was a terrible idea. He's like, no one's going to want to drink. That's disgusting. Everyone else laughed and said, who cares? Do it anyway.
It's funny.
The other thing, too, is because it's so cheap, we're going to start having a sales team go to various stores and ask them, like, what do you spend per case, per bottle, or per ounce for a bottled water in your gas station, in your restaurant? We're going to undercut all of them. We are going to put pool water in all of these restaurants.
I love it.
And we are going to... listen.
Idea did not even exist this morning, by the way.
Yeah, and
I was here.
In 5
this
years,
all developed. In like
5
the course
years,
of 4 hours, Tim is like, I will
like,
destroy the conventional bottled water industry.
In 5 years, Tim's going to take over the whole bottled water industry.
My wife was like, is this how we retire, off pool water? But imagine this. We go to like a restaurant and they say, like, we're spending like $1.50 per bottle of water. And we could be like, okay, we'll get you at $1.40. And we'll give you 10 cases free to switch to us. And then we're going to get glass bottled water as far as we can get it.
I just want to be at some 5-star restaurant and have them say, would you like the pool water?
You're going to meme your way to the top of the water.
Dude, I love it.
To be fair, let me pull this up. I don't think we can actually compete with plastic water bottles.
In terms of price?
So let's see. 54 cases. Let's see. You can get 1,890 bottles of plastic water for $659.
Wow.
There's no way glass can compete with that.
Yeah.
But then when you look at Liquid Death on Amazon, they sell for 8 cents per fluid ounce. We're selling for about 7 cents per fluid ounce.
How many cents per fluid ounce does plastic bottled water generally sell for?
Like 3.
3? Okay, wow.
Yeah, insane. Wow. And like plastic is dirt cheap.
It's cheap.
Just dirt cheap, man.
That's why it's everywhere now. That's why
All
there's microplastics and everything.
Skyline says Pool Water should hire Sydney Sweeney for ads, or at least Temu version, Make America Sexy Again. That is a really good idea.
Don't.
No.
Do it.
No. We got to find a Temu, like a really, like a knockoff of Sydney Sweeney, like someone who kind of looks like her. You know what I mean? It's like obviously not her.
She's pretty, but not really.
Yeah, just like a 6.5, 7 maybe. C+.
Now I'm going to feel bad for whoever you hire.
And
don't feel bad.
You know, and then we'll have her be like, when I'm thirsty, I just drink the pool water. And people are going to, and then we're going to have a guy go like, oh.
Oh, that's great. Yeah.
You know, look, there are people in my periphery who are like, Tim, why don't you just actually make a product that will sell and make money? Like we could probably, if we sold these for $25, like $2 a pack, I mean like $2 a bottle for a bottle of water, glass bottle, we're looking at $48. Saratoga Springs, it's like $70 because it's like legit really good natural spring water from New York. But I was like, I'm not trying to get rich and make $1 billion off bottled water.
The full extent to which the Biden-Harris Justice Department weaponized federal law enforcement.
Yeah, see that
what do you think?
Oh yeah, that was weird. How did that happen?
Yeah,
that was Trump. All of a sudden, just talking about the press. Oh look, there's Liquid Death's plastic bag. Gross. No, I just think it'd be funny if people bought pool water, and I think at this price it's like $1.70 per bottle or whatever. So then there's going to be shipping. It's not the easiest thing in the world to get, but it's funny, and we'll have it at all of our events. And again, it's cheaper for us to stock this than
I think it's great. Honestly, like this is something I would actually use.
So would I. I was just with a friend out west, and they're insisting on glass bottled water. You couldn't find it anywhere. So I ended up, I think it's like $4 or $5 for a bottle. It was crazy. So if you're in the universe of competitive, especially I think Maha, because nobody wants the BPAs, nobody wants the plastic.
Yeah.
I mean,
well, I will be fair too. We just found this company. We haven't done any tests on the water quality or anything like that. So I'm not doing this to claim we're going to have the cleanest and best water available. To be fair, the company assured us. We looked at their process. It looks really nice. They show us the filtration, like the natural filtration process and how the water, they assert its purity and all of this really great stuff. So I'm fairly confident this is really great water. There's we see that it's really close to us, by the way, too. It's like within seriously 20 minutes driving or whatever. But look, the cap's going to have plastic on it to seal it or something. I just don't like that Liquid Death is misleading people by claiming death to plastic and then selling a plastic bag full of water.
My wife said call the lemon water with the yellow public pool water.
All right.
That might not sell as well, though.
Mythos says, Tim, do you have any spoons left with Seamus being there for so long?
You know me. You know I would never do something like that.
Seamus is actually planning on launching a cutlery product.
Cutlery silverware?
Yep. James Smith says the Insurrection Act needs to be invoked. The judge's orders to remove the ICE facility fence should have been ignored. Yet Republicans bow down like the cowards they are. Yep. And I got to tell you, I was talking to someone earlier about how they have friends in Portland who are saying we need to get out of this place. And I was like, wow, someone who's from, they lived in Portland for a long time, and they're realizing now that the left has gone insane. It's corrupt. They need to get out of there. I don't believe that anybody in Illinois who is of sound mind and could support Trump would support Trump if he's not going to act. The example is in the 2020 riots, everybody was like, if Trump invokes the Insurrection Act to stop the riots, he'll be called a fascist. Instead, what happened was people said, Trump as president is impotent and can't stop rioting. I'm going to vote for the other guy.
Nope.
Trump needs to go with an iron fist and say, if you vote for me, you'll stay safe.
They're going to call him a fascist anyways.
Exactly.
But the argument was that's why he didn't stop the riots, because he was worried it would hurt him in the polls.
Yeah.
Instead, what hurt him in the polls was not stopping the riots.
Amen. 100%.
Mm-hmm. All right. Thinker for Life says, why is nobody talking about X, Twitter, not allowing Android phones to upload pictures or video during a nationwide mass protest being formed? There's a critical time where minds can be swayed. What are you talking about?
Is that going on?
All I know is that Twitter is broken on Android when you try to upload videos.
Well, videos or photos? Because I literally just uploaded a post a while ago with photos in it, and it worked fine.
Kimmy Hunt says, bottle caps used to be lined with cork. Maybe these can still be sourced for your pool water. Research cork-lined bottle caps. I remember these from the 1960s. Maybe we could bring them back. Interesting.
Yeah.
It's like one company left that's doing it. It's like, how can I bring you back to life with my
It's one Etsy shop.
Water.
They're like, buy our artisanal cork caps.
I think you can find it. We have reusable glass water bottles that have silicone seal, so no plastics, I guess. Yeah. All right. LSO says, Tim, why are you not posting all Timcast videos on Rumble? There are at least 2 from today that are on YouTube and not on Rumble. I try to watch and check Rumble first, but lately I know not to. That would be a staff error. If the crew that normally uploads the videos missed this, then they would not get uploaded, and that is just a lapse. It's just a mistake. We upload all of our content to Rumble, even the Tim Pool Show. Shane H. Wilder says their smiles and laughter at the violence against police just tells me that they are either happy it happened or are too stupid or high on SSRIs to know what is going on.
I would like to think that it's like they're literally just disconnected from the reality of the world they live in. And that's the truth for a lot of people who make their lives in these big cities is it's all they know, it's all they want to know, and they're almost held hostage in a way with where they live. And it's like you imagine a world where, you know, you can go outside and you don't have to worry about being mugged or a car next to you being started on fire. But then when you say that, they're like, well, it's the city. What do you expect?
Yeah. That's just part of life.
It's just part of life in the city. And you're like, yes, but things are good, but they could be better.
Yeah.
The SSRI thing is really something that, I mean, you got to wonder how much impact that's having on the just complete breakdown of what's occurring.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
They're everywhere. And, you know, I mean, like I said, that's kind of my space. I mean, it's a disaster what those are doing, and they've been covering it up so hard for so long.
Well, and a huge part of this, and again, I'm not a medical professional, I'm not speaking medically, but just from a spiritual perspective, I think we have a society where people aren't living as they ought, and they're not even encouraged to live as they ought. And when you act in ways outside of your purpose and how you actually exist as a human, of course you're going to feel depressed. Of course you're going to feel like there's something wrong with the world. So people are running to SSRIs. I think in large part, that's because we don't have a society that tells people how to be healthy. And I'm not just talking about the food we eat. I'm talking about the friendships we have, our understanding of our purpose, all of these things, our place in the system.
Let's grab some more. What do we got here? Millennial Mama says, every day it's like 20 black pills and 3 white pills. How does one stay invested in the news when it's so exhausting and makes the soul ache? My concern not so much is soul ache or anything like that. I feel like I'm fairly calloused to the goings on of the world. My concern is that the exponential increase in shock and violence is the issue for me is not so much that I'm like, oh no, I'm depressed. It's at a certain point, we have to prepare for what is about to happen. And I'm looking at all of these stories, and I'm thinking to myself, it is exponentially increasing. It is speeding up rapidly.
Yeah.
With the ram. Okay, guys, this is serious. DHS got rammed.
Yeah.
They jumped out of the vehicle and opened fire on a woman, striking her. They got rammed again. In Chicago, they got rammed again. Any one of these moments could lead to a full-scale shootout in Chicago between armed factions and law enforcement. And cartels and gangs are now offering bounties to Chicago gangs to kill law enforcement. We are literally talking about right now, at any moment, we could get the Battle of Chicago. And that is not an exaggeration. The Latin Kings put a bounty out on the commander of DHS. Mexican gangs are putting bounties out on DHS. They've been rammed already. At any moment. When the first ramming happened and DHS got out and opened fire, police were told to stand down and leave. Latin Kings were instructed by their gang leaders to go and basically secure the area. That could have very easily, probabilistically, and I'm surprised it didn't happen, result in a video showing armed federal law enforcement ducking behind engine blocks and concrete barriers and shooting at other people. And at first, I think if this were to happen, people are going to be like, whoa, a shootout happened between federal law enforcement and gangs. 5 years later, they'd call it the first Battle of Chicago.
I do think that soul ache is something that we have to take into account, and I do think it matters. I think that you black pill yourself when you consume too much news every day. The best thing that I found for something like that is if you spend a lot of time reading or taking in media that's just negative and inherently, the best thing you can do is to try to recognize that in yourself, pull yourself away, work on something tangible, spend time with your family, spend time with your loved ones, go out into the real world, physical activity, literally anything that can pull you away, because the mental state you get in when you consume a lot of news, it can be one of those things that it creeps up on you and you don't realize that it's affecting the way you think and feel until it's too late. So
I totally agree, and I do think it's important to stay up to date and informed, but for your average person who doesn't do this for a living, I think it is really important to be moderate about the amount of content you're consuming. I don't think it's good for men to constantly be confronted with injustices that they can't do anything to stop. And I don't think it's good for women to constantly see images of children who they're not going to be able to help. I think even if you're doing a good job with all of those things in your own life, you're preventing the injustices close to you, you're a woman, you're taking care of your own children, it does something to your brain that makes it feel like you're not.
Yeah.
And so it can demoralize you.
Yeah. Don't you think that's intentional, though? I
Yes.
mean, it's kind of, they want us to stand down. They want us exhausted. They want us to quit. And, you've got to protect yourself. You have to stay aware so that you're ready to stand. I mean, we've got to stand together. And I agree with what Tim said 1,000%. It's such a pivotal moment in American history. And this is going to determine our freedom, our kids' freedom, our future. But at the end of the day, you've got to control what you can control. You've got to fight the fights you can fight, but you've got to recognize that you can't fight every fight. Be a part of the solution. Stand strong. Do what you got to do. Hit share on the tweets. Watch this show, share this show, get it out there. But then make sure you're taking a minute. Go to the gym. Spend time with your family. Do whatever it is that you got to do. And be ready to go when it's time, because there may well be a time that we don't have a choice.
I will say for most people, if you read about history, I've said this before, I'll say it again, you will notice nothing. The revolution in Egypt, most people in Egypt literally saw nothing happen, and nothing in their lives changed. Prices may have fluctuated. You might, and even today, as you're sitting there, wherever you may live, rural Nebraska, New York, wherever, you hear the story about the ICE attack, the attack on ICE in Chicago, or the CBP guys getting rammed. And it's something in a faraway land. When these shootings happen, it's in a faraway land. You'll likely not see anything ever. We got time for a couple more. Nylan Hynek says, liberals keep freaking out about data centers and their environmental impact. If the entire internet shut down forever, how long do you think liberals would survive versus independents and conservatives? Oh, they just fall to the ground and foam at the mouth.
Well, who would tell them what to do or what to think?
Nothing makes them so angry than to post some inconsequential thing made with AI. My God, they hate it so much.
Debo Santa Cruz says, big fan since Rogan. Everyone knows who the 9th circle of hell is reserved for. Does anyone know who the 6th pit and the 8th circle is for? Let's be mindful not to fall from grace. Seamus, are you aware?
I don't remember. It's been a while since I looked at Dante.
Yeah. It was 6, the wrathful.
Let's look.
I never knew at all.
It's for the guy creating AI videos and destroying the world with the data centers. That's who it is.
I haven't looked at that since college.
Dante's Inferno.
6th is for heretics. What was the other one that they mentioned?
8. 8 is fraud. Oh, sorry. 7 was 5 was wrath. The wrathful. They fight on the surface of the river Styx.
8 is fraud.
Yeah, and when you go to the 9th circle of hell, you are trapped in the mouth of Satan for eternity as he chews you, and you just get chewed up.
Drinking liquid death water bottles.
All right, everybody, smash that like button. Share the show with everyone. We're going to that uncensored portion of the show at rumble.com/Timcast IRL. Join the Discord server, an active online community of tens of thousands. They're all partying, and they're wondering why you haven't shown up yet. You join our Discord server, $10 a month. You can call into the Uncensored Show and talk to us, and all of your chats appear on screen on the uncensored portion of the show. You can follow me on X and Instagram at Timcast. Go to castbrew.com. And tomorrow, pre-orders for pool water should be available. You'll definitely want to pick that up. Tom, do you want to shout anything out?
Hey, listen, I appreciate you guys letting me be here. We got a little show, nowhere near this size, the Tom Renz Show. We're on Rumble. We're on X. We're on YouTube when we're not censored, which is pretty much every day. So we're not much there. But, if following any support, we're going to continue fighting for the freedom and fighting for all the things we're talking about and standing against this tyranny. Keep an eye. We're doing some stuff. You're going to see some stuff coming on informed consent and ensuring parental rights and stopping medical kidnapping. And if you don't know what that is, look it up.
Right on.
Guys, if you want to follow me, I am on Instagram and on X at Brett Dasovic on both of those platforms. And if you want to avoid black pills, what you should do is tune into Pop Culture Crisis. We have a lot of fun Monday through Friday, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Nothing so serious as what is going on here tonight. Hope to see you there.
My name is Seamus Coughlin. I create animated cartoons and political satire. Myself and my team have amassed over 290 billion views and over 1 million subscribers with $0 spent on marketing. And the reason we do this is because the people producing most of the entertainment media in this country today hate you, they hate your way of life, and they hate your values, and they are slowly chipping away at the culture you live in through their propaganda. That's why we're stepping into the fight by creating a full-length animated show. The episodes are going to be around 20 minutes or longer. Go over to twistedplots.com and support us in this fight because we can't win the culture war unless we're making culture. I've got the team, I've got the values, and I've got the experience. And if you give me your support, I will be unstoppable.
I am Phil That Remains on Twix. I just did a feature with a band called Zillion. The song is called Cannibals. You can pre-order that right now on Spotify. Head on over to Zillion's Spotify page. It'll be available on 10/17. My band, All That Remains. You can check us out on Apple Music, Amazon Music, Pandora, Spotify, YouTube, and Deezer. Don't forget, The Left Lane is for crime.
I'm just going to mention something real quick. Tony'sTapwater.com. What's this? This is alkaline water. I've not actually looked into all of their marketing or anything, but they have canned water, and I don't see death to plastic written anywhere. It just says, based in Austin, Texas, Tony's Tap Water, tired of BS, straight out of a reverse osmosis machine. Huh. How about that? We'll see you all over at rumble.com/Timcast IRL. Thanks for hanging out.